So my name's Joanne Ladds. I work with Noble Eaton, and we're a design consultancy, and we work specifically with schools to look at intentional design of the learning environment.
And how long have you been doing that with Noble Eaton?
For nearly 3 years.
And what is Noble Eaton, if you haven't heard of Noble Eaton?
So we look at people, pedagogy and place, and we use place as a driver for change. So we can say that if you intentionally design that environment looking at features, well, we use 10 features, but if you look at lighting, acoustics, wayfinding, technology, and lots of other features, actually you can intentionally design that learning environment to get the right fit, which is a lot that's been talked about today, within that right community, and also so that the learning that takes place within the school actually is exceptional.
And you're an academic and you have a doctorate. That's why you use words like pedagogy.
Sorry.
So
Yep.
People and place I understand, but pedagogy for people like me who don't know what that is.
So I like the alliteration as well, the piece. But it's the learning that takes place. So how do you learn? And this is where we really, really focus. We look at metacognition, we look at feedback, we look at all those strategies that that makes teaching and learning excellence in the UK as well, applying all of that research that we know really has an impact, and to facilitate that through the design of the space. One way you can look at it is, what modes of dialogue would you like to see? What sort of conversations would you like to happen, and how can you facilitate those conversations? Where do you feel most comfortable having those difficult conversations? Where do you feel most comfortable presenting? Is that sat down having a chat with you like this? Is that stood up behind a lectern over there, giving those choices? But the intentional design of those environments can really facilitate that.
So you're involved in research, and Noble Eaton makes and supplies chairs and desks and things, a school supplier of furniture and buildings. Where does the research come into this? Why do you need research to get the design of a school right?
Because it comes back to the neuroscience of learning and how learning actually, how we are understanding how learning takes place. And for me, you engage with a place through all of your senses. And the way in which we engage with that is through the light, and we process light. Light's a wave, so how do you process that? It goes through your eyes, and so therefore transferring that information, how does that happen? So getting the light right can actually have an effect on how you're learning. We've all seen that advice of don't use your devices just before you're going to bed. Again, so that's a different amount of light. So if we want to engage with using technology, what sort of space do we design for that? What sort of furniture would you design for that ergonomically, so that you're sat comfortably using your device, but also in terms of the lighting that you would like, especially if you're sat there for a long time. So that's just one example of the depths to which we go in terms of, well, let's look at the data, let's look at the neuroscience, let's start to gather that information on how learning takes place, so that we can purposefully design those environments to enhance the learning for everyone.
And in boarding, what difference has Noble Eaton made in some of the boarding accommodation and boarding houses, the kind of before and after? We've got a few photos to show as well.
Yes, we have. And some of that is a knock-on effect. So some of the photos that we've got, one was from, so this is from Woldingham. Is that one? No, that one's Tormead. I apologise. In terms of Woldingham, we work with them to design their sixth form, and the knock-on effect for then the design for Woldingham is to actually then look at their boarding spaces, because the girls have actually loved this space so much, and the learning that's taking place and how much they enjoy being in that space. This one is a collaboration zone, and it's designed around the theme of air, earth, fire and water, and this one is the earth theme. You can see the the colours, the way in which it's actually got your curves. So this is linked to the science. That approachable nature is by investing in having curves within the design. There are breakout little booths which are acoustically treated, and then there's lots of different places where you can go to actually engage with independent learning. And this design for Woldingham was all about ownership of learning, about giving the girls the independence, but not forgetting about the way in which everybody learns through collaboration as well. There's presentation spaces, so this is really investing in learning styles. But to answer your question and to come back to the boarding, this has had so much impact. How can we then invest in the boarding in a similar way? Because learning takes place everywhere. So how can we create those social spaces? How can we create the spaces to relax? How can we create spaces to, well, do we actually want homework or work to take place in the boarding house, or do we actually want it to take place in here? So when we actually talk about a project design, we always go in and ask those questions right at the very beginning. What is it that you're trying to achieve, and how can we support you in achieving that?
That's fantastic. Thanks very much.